Vampire Survivors is a 2D roguelike auto shooter released in 2022 developed by Ponicle. I started playing in early 2023 and keep coming back after every new update. It may look simple and the cheap price may make you think it's not worth your time, but I'm going to tell you you're dead wrong. This may be one of the most addictive games I've ever played. I sit down to play it, blink and hours have gone by. It's truly that fun. So why is it so fun? Let me tell you. You control your pick of a variety of characters, get plopped onto a map with your starting weapon, and your goal, at least when you start playing the game, is to survive to 30 minutes as enemies constantly spawn around you trying to kill you. You only control movement, the game auto attacks for you. It's very simple on paper, you only move the one stick. But how can that be that fun, I hear you ask, Wesley? Well, after you kill some enemies, they'll drop money and gems. You need these to level up. Blue are worth the least and red are worth the most. When you level up, you get to pick out 4 random options to get upgrades or new weapons. This is where the game becomes strategic and fun. Do you want to upgrade your current weapon so it does more damage, or pick a new one that synergizes with it? For example, one of the early weapons you get is a throwing knife. This attacks where you are pointing your character. It's great for high damage on one enemy, but terrible for crowd control. Early into the game, enemies die quickly, so you could probably use the knife to kill the enemies for the first few minutes, but they get stronger and multiply as time goes on, so a knife on its own isn't going to cut it. You want to pick something like Holy Water, which leaves large areas that damage enemies that walk into it. It's great for thinning out the herd, so you might be thinking, great, I'll just pick new weapons each time I level up. This isn't always the best strategy. Your weapons won't keep up with the damage you need to be doing to kill mobs later into the game, so you have to do a careful balancing act of trying to level up your weapons and get new ones that mesh well with the ones you got. You can only select up to 6 weapons from the level up, so you have to choose wisely. Some maps will have weapons spawn on the map, so if you're already holding 6 weapons and you pick up one of these, you can actually carry more than your limit, which is cool. It also has another layer of strategy. Say you really want to use the whip weapon and one spawns on the map. Are you going to risk trying to make your way to it whilst trying to get 6 weapons from leveling up? You might die on the way. It might take you a while to get the 6 weapons before you can pick it up. You could pick it up before you get to your max, but then you're wasting your weapon potential. So you might try to quickly get max weapons by always picking one when you level up, but that means they're all going to be weak, meaning you'll likely die because your damage input isn't high enough. It's a lot to think about with just weapons, then passives get added on top. They are the same as weapons, you can only hold 6 unless you find one on the map, and you can pick them when you level up. Passives give you a buff like wings increase your speed, spinach increases your damage. They add another layer to think about. This is basically what you'll have to think about early on, what weapons pair nicely with what passives. Which is fun, nothing too crazy, continue playing and you should eventually discover synergies. This was a game changer when I discovered it. So when I first started playing I would use Gennaro. He starts off with the throwing knives, which I like. I could survive a long time using them, so I would focus on leveling them up, but they fired quite slow, so naturally they paired with the passive braces I thought. This increases projectile speed by 10%. So I would fully level up my knife and pick the braces when I could. Then when I open a chest, wait, I haven't explained chests, shit. Basically, some bigger enemies or ones with glowing outlines around them will drop a chest. Bosses will always drop chests. These will always have at least one weapon or passive in them, but they can be up to a combination of 5 if you're lucky. It's normally an item you already have that isn't maxed out, so if you find 5 knives in there, your knife will level up 5 times. Anyway, I opened the chest whilst having maxed out knife and braces in my inventory, and boom, it upgraded my knife into a bunch of knives that fired super fast and had a wider range. I was like, what the fuck, this is awesome. Doing this unlocked the Grimoire, which can be accessed when you pause. It'll show you all the weapons with a plus question mark equals question mark. The knife shows plus bracer equals lots of knives. This was awesome. My next goal was to figure out what the other combinations were. Lucky, at the start of the game, the pool of weapons and passes are small enough where you can actually try to figure them out for yourself. You'll definitely need a guide later on. To what the game calls evolve a weapon, you must first get your weapon to the max, pick the right passive, these don't need to be leveled up to the max to evolve, and find a chest and hopefully your weapon will evolve. Just because you have all the right stuff doesn't mean the next chest is going to evolve your weapon, it could just contain level up for the other items. If you want to increase your chances of an evolve, have less items in your inventory, but this could be dangerous as you might need more items to survive. Evolved weapons can be so OP. My favourite early on was the garlic heart combo. This creates a large damaging area around you that also siphons health from enemies, but there are a lot of good ones in the game. When you're on the level up screen, it'll also tell you what items evolve with what after you've evolved them once, which is a godsend. So this will be a new goal, trying to get as many evolved weapons you need to survive for 30 minutes. You don't technically need evolved weapons to get to the end, but it does get ridiculously hectic the closer you get to the end. Once you reach 30 minutes, a Grim Reaper comes out of nowhere to end your game. You lose your items when you die, and have to start the next game with only your starting weapons. This is where the roguelike elements come in. You can buy permanent upgrades using the money you collected in the main menu. You can also buy new characters using money after you've opened a coffin in a stage. New characters can have different stats, some move slower and are luckier than others, but most importantly they all have new starting weapons. Normally when you figure out how to evolve their weapon, it becomes available in chests and when leveling up for every other character. This is great, it makes you try out every character and adds more weapons to your arsenal. If you're ever lost on what character you need to use or what items you need to level up, you can always check the unlocks page. This will give you a bunch of objectives to do and tell you what they unlock. They will be stuff like survive 10 minutes in the Mad Forest stage to unlock a new passive. You should be checking this often. If you plan on playing this, I would recommend not getting any of the DLC until you complete the unlock page, as this will add more stuff to this page and it may become overwhelming. Being able to play this as it gets new updates is great. It means I only have to do a few objectives every few months, so my end goal is always in sight. I can imagine it would be overwhelming for new players with all the DLC installed. You'll want to focus on unlocking new stages because they will have new characters, weapons, passives and special items for you to find. Each stage is very distinct from each other. In the base game, you have a forest, a library, a plant, to name a few. Stages can change up the way you play and some are easier than others. Take the library for example, unlike other stages it's only horizontal, you can only go left or right and enemies can only come from the left and right. Compare this to the Mad Forest where you can go in all directions, but that means enemies can also come from all directions, but there's more room for you to dodge. The library is my go-to stage if I need to just level up a weapon or survive so long with a character. I found it easier to focus on the two directions. There are also bonus stages. These can range from a bit of fun like a map spawning only chickens to more challenging ones where no items drop. The great thing about this game is once you think you have everything figured out, it'll have new secrets to surprise you and change up your gameplay. At some point late into the game you will unlock cards called Arcanas. These give you abilities that can dramatically change your run. You can pick one at the start of the game and get more if you find purple chests, which will let you pick between a few. One card will make losing health generate exploding projectiles, another will halt XP gain and turn gems into explosives, and my favourite one makes all the items, pickups and light sources drawn towards the player every 2 minutes. Shit, I haven't mentioned light sources. These spawn on stages. When you break them, they can contain useful items inspired by the Castlevania series like Floor Chicken to heal you, a rosary that clears all enemies on screen, a clock that stops time briefly, or one that vacuums up all the gems for you. These also add a layer of strategy to the game. Do you pick a passive that heals you, or do you want to go around hoping you get floor chickens? You can also unlock different modes which you can pick before you start a stage, like Endless Mode, which does what you think, Hyper, which makes everything faster, or Inverse, which inverts the map and makes enemies tougher. You can also pair up these modes at the stage menu as well, so you can play a Hyper Inverse stage if you want. There's actually a lot you can do from the menu to shake out your gameplay. You can set how many weapons you can carry, so instead of 6 you can only carry 1. You can turn off stuff like Arcanas and upgrades if you don't want to use them, or banish items you don't want showing up in your run. All of this has to be unlocked of course. You have to play the game the way the developer wants you to before you can change stuff to suit whatever you're trying to do, which I respect, as some of the unlocks feel like using a cheat code. I forgot to mention as well, when you level up, if the RNG guard isn't in your favour, you don't have to choose something. You can skip, re-roll, or even banish an item if you don't want it showing up again. There are hundreds of enemies in the game, they all have different designs and some have different attacks. Basic ones just walk up to you, and some have range attacks. Early into the stage you can dodge attacks, but later on it doesn't really matter what enemy it is. You're not going to be able to see them with the amount of shit that's happening on screen. There's also Adventure Mode. These are little campaigns you can play through. You start off with one character and have to unlock more. Your weapons and item pool are also limited in this mode. It feels a bit more like a designed experience, which is nice to go through if you want to go back to how the game felt when I first started playing it. You might be looking at your screen and thinking, how the fuck do you know what's going on? Which I get looking at it, but when you're actually playing it will make sense to you. Reminds you of when my dad was watching me play Doom Eternal and he was like, there's so much shit on screen, how do you know what you're doing? It makes sense to you when you're playing. I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but there's just so much stuff packed into Vampire Survivors, and this is just the base game. The DLCs are excellent, they all add a lot of characters, weapons and more to the game. The Castlevania one is also insane for how much is in it. Well, I think that covers the gameplay. How's everything else? The game's aesthetic is very inspired by old school Castlevania, which I'm a big fan of. The retro pixel art looks good, like something straight out of the SNES. Characters, monsters and item designs look like they come from a Castlevania game. Designs are very readable considering how much chaos is on screen. Music and sound design is good, it ramps up with the game and the chest unlocking song is going to be stuck in my head for ages. Weapons all have a satisfying sound when using them, which is good because you're going to be hearing them a lot. The game runs really well, I haven't run into any glitches whilst playing. It may start to chug, but that's only when I was like on a 60-minute run and there were just so many effects and enemies on screen. The only real negatives I have is that there's no story. You can get to the end, but there's not an actual narrative, which I'll be honest, it doesn't need one, but hey, some like little text logs or something could have been nice. Also, it does feel like you need a guide for some stuff later on. There's just so much to unlock and some mechanics can be cryptic unless you watch some guy explain them on YouTube. Like for example, I didn't know that if you leave the screen, all the gems off screen will all be collected into a red gem, which is useful to know. Also, another minor thing is you can't really track what you're trying to do. So say if the game's like, oh, you need to kill 3,000 chickens, there's no indicator in the game of how many you killed. You kind of just gotta end the game and hope you killed enough. Overall, I love this game. It always keeps bringing me back when there's a new update for more. There's just so much content and more keeps getting added, a lot of it for free. The gameplay is very addictive and can require strategy if you want to succeed. You have to really adapt to the RNG, which I found fun. If you want to make the game easier or harder for yourself, you can. It's great for short or long sessions. It can get a bit repetitive after a while, but that's why I like to take breaks between updates. Biggest negatives are the lack of story and it's a bit cryptic sometimes. Also, if you upgrade reroll a lot, it kind of negates the RNG for the most part. So let's rank it. I'm honestly thinking number 2, it's just that fun for me. There's just so much here. It can be a fun game I turn my brain off and play, or it can be a game that I have to focus on to succeed depending on what mood I'm in. There's no frustrating parts or bits I don't want to do like in Kingdom Come and Death Stranding. It's also doing more unique stuff compared to Astrobot, which I love, but it was kind of just really good platforming that's been done in other games. Eternal Darkness is in one of my favourite genres, survival horror. It had a unique story and unique mechanics like the sanity meter, which I love, so I don't think I could put it below Vampire Survivors. So yeah, number 2, might sound mad if you haven't played the game, but it's really that good. Well, that's it, Vampire Hunters. I'm going to go play some more Vampire Survivors now.